What's going on YouTube? So we finally got to a conclusion. So the last video was just to be able to think. So as you see on the bottom left corner, I'm gonna grab this mechanical pencil because so I was thinking in the background before I started the video that it has its cap missing on the lead pencil, and when I was looking at the very top of it, it's lead. Like that's what it looks like without the cap. And if you look closely at the lead in the middle of it, it tells you that it's lead when you look at it. So that's kind of interesting that there's different utensils, right? You got an eraser at the back of it. Like, what the heck? Why would it look like that? Anyways, so I'm not saying to draw on your phone, because drawing is like you have to change the opacity, you have to change like all these settings. That's kind of weird to do. So let me explain what we're dealing with. The reason. All right, so reason is the most powerful word that's been thrown around without any background to work with. And the thing is, when we draw an object, it kind of looks a little annoying, right? So I don't get how I would pull it off, but if I could. See, the thing is, I just don't understand the reason as to the controller was merely like, oh, the stencil of what I use on paper, and then you just need a notebook that has grid on it. So you just need, in order to line things up. So what you would have to do is take your index finger and your thumb nail, right? And you can place the index on a location. So let's say I pick, why would I select something different? Like, what does it end up causing or doing, and why can't I change its color? It's kind of like if I select this one here, right? The index on paper, right? You can get printer paper, I guess. I mean, I got to the point that I used the back of a printing paper, and it just ends up that if I put my index on what I made, like if I actually sketch this out, right, on paper, that wouldn't be difficult. I kind of understood that like a few of us would just need to like not give in on it. Like I get curious what it is with a screen app, right? If I make, let's see, if I make a obelisk, I guess, right? If I understand that the beginning shape of something. So if I get the eraser, I honestly not someone who uses the eraser, so I just wouldn't understand what that's for yet, right? I never understood its purpose. So if on paper you draw out, you would end up drawing out objects, right? And the story would be everyone has a random chance of redrawing the same object over and over. I noticed after a few tries on it, I would draw hands that would like grab an object, and then it's like, oh crap, I can't see it anymore. And I'm like, huh, I was like, why is it that I can draw like a knuckle on the thumb and the index perfectly fine over and over and over? And it happened like at least 5 to 10 times. And if I think about it, like months in the past, I did it and it would just show up. I noticed one thing in particular, that I would end up drawing a vase, right? And it's not that I like, the way you should do it is to sketch it out, right? It's like you have to surface what it is that's left after that you played any game at all. So like the final thing about what we are is there's no order of contents of playing games. Literally, if you take those three word order of contents, right, the meaning of that is nobody has a year to date to play a game from this year, right, to play along a path that teaches us. It ended up that's like, okay, I want to have dignity to teach someone this. There's no intel of why nobody uses it. The advancement of technology was from the drawing, right? If you understand before you advance and call it something new, you would have to adhere to you, right? And so it's like, what does that end up meaning? It's almost that when what we look at is drawings, right? That's primarily what this was. People eventually started calling it graphic design based on website platforms. But through an image of a website, it's like it has a game of its own. If anything that has water, right, a vase. So if there's any water in a game that's collected on its own without it being like like the whole story is just like if you have water and if you have currency, then you end up knowing that you don't know why you drink it or why you would avoid it, and then you have values as to like the volume that you deal with. Is like some people advance before the technology pre-existed on the database of what we work with. Like the data points of what I'm saying is no one works on a drawing atmosphere, right? That's the problem. Let me teach you one thing about it. Like if I pick a color, why would I pick any of them? It's kind of like, why is that the only colors we have? It's interesting that it's a mixture, right? And then that kind of throws me off when I open an app. So that's kind of like when you talk about anything, it's like, oh, it's because it would tell you to speak. An object can tell you to like remind yourself. And the percentage that we work with when it's drawn on paper is 3 to 50%. So the whole point is when you get a grid notebook, and like if you do have one, you're really lucky. So I mean, you have grid points on here, but if you have a grid notebook, you can then select with your index on primary and your thumbnail, right? You can place on how far and close. So the word close means you want to make sure that you're accurate from one square to another on the grid, right? So that's simple. It's just to place a finger as, like you place your index finger on paper and then your thumb in locations of these two objects. So that way you have a flush chance of it being placed where it's located. And over time, you'll end up with a result of 3 to 50% chance of recollections of like, oh, I get data points of things that I don't understand. For me, it's surface. It's like, oh, okay, so it appears, but I don't know why anything shows up. Like, I get a pig coin from the H1Z1 game, which is like I have 2,000 or 4,000 of it, and that currency was just based off of taking out the consideration that I had towards one. But then it's like, what is it, and why would I consider any of these actions in the first place? It was almost like if I don't understand the purpose and the entire thing was just to alleviate stress. And I'm like, wait, if I already understood the problem, but then there was no any inheritance of as to why was it that the drawing may have been what made that traveled into the computer, right? If someone actually spent so much time drawing these different significant objects and things that were easy to draw all the time. Like, I noticed I was drawing a vase, right? And it was southeast of the location that I understand that I spent time drawing on. It started as a fort, right? So it had like a port. So it had almost the idea of crates or items moving around. So secondary of what we deal with is that these items end up relieving from the drawing. And I was like, that's kind of odd to just see that it shows up in participation, or if I look away and then and integrate what I see, and it's like, I can't find a few of them. After I was drawing enough times or continuing, I see like, okay, I see things appear on an object or alleviate in a certain area that was drawn in. And I was like, I can almost understand that visually it traveled like southeast. And I'm like, okay, where's this going? Who am I working with on this drawing and why that is? Like, I understood my side of things, but I'm just like, where's the chance of actually breaking through this notation until it becomes information, or the structure that has what tells you that it is. Like, I'm trying to reach the chance of what object tells me that it holds water, right? That's a good metaphor to work with, the behalf of what you end up saying. So your half of the conversation is like, oh, okay, I got what you're saying. It's like, what item is supposed to do that, right? Like, if it's just there to hold it, then why do we have things like that? That's kind of what we realize. People, there's things that just travel, right? To clarify what to use, everything is a thing, right? So that means everything is a thing. And that's just one term that I use. I have a total of 4. And the escalation of breaking out of a mindfulness would eventually add up. It kind of just like, people don't connect the technology that we have, right? Drawing was initially what we would always understand from afar. Like, there is no say, it updated and it ends up as something, or as sometimes I realize that 20 minutes goes by before you say the word something. Sometimes I realize that word sometimes caused a 20-minute cool down, which isn't bad. That's just like, all I have to do is say, sometimes I realize. And it's like, it's odd as the pinnacle interest was foregoing as like, it's like the back of my mind has a pinnacle interest. Like, it has a triangulation, right? Pinnacle is just like a triangle. And it's like, the back of my mind has a pinnacle interest. Pinnacle is like, at the very top of the volume that I speak with, right? So if I was to explain this grid, right, and it's like, how are these lines just lining almost up, right? And then if you draw a cross, okay, and if I grab from the index or the thumb, so we see the vase, or the vase. And so what you do is you locate where on the grid. So if the top here of the index was here, so it's like almost like you can understand that I can draw its shape, right? Right? So there is an idea. So the thumb would be like here. So if I were to escalate the examination of as like these two locations of A, and then we have let's say T, right? So what we're after is like, why is anybody playing games in the first place? You notice the car that I just randomly, without drawing, taught me it's made out of cans, soda cans. The car is made out of cans. It's like, why am I telling anybody what it's made out of? Regarding to the storyline, we don't have the order that we need, right? That's what's missing. No one has order. Order of, that's what it is in the end. The breakthrough of our lives was to just live. And why is it that anybody you watch playing is like, you realize that you do have a word, but then what is the interactions, right? That's kind of what the English language would just do on its own. Why do we have stillness? That's kind of odd. Like, it wasn't. That's kind of what I was tired of. That if someone says graphics, and then later on in the years you hear design, and all it is just people who are out there just don't know where the premise of why there are words being brought or bought out, right? It's like, oh, crud. It's like I ended up doing this based off of a drawing and atmosphere that we don't have any connection. Like, you notice the stencil is in gray and it doesn't make any errors. So, like, if I give any history, the order of what we wake up with, the lions that I live out there are of old age. And the family word, the order of what that is like, oh, crud. Each type is a different age criteria of the old. Each different appearance of it, each idea of it was just a different appearance. It could have been just someone who used like colors to change them, or maybe that's what they kept asking or pursuing, right? But that's the problem. Like, the old age is rightfully so, because if they were ever to speak, it'd be like, what avoiding numbers can you go to extend away from the beginning of, because like you do need to avoid, like, you never would recollect as to what this is. So back to topic, it's kind of odd that I do have a mission, whereas like I'm Johnny the Rhino, and my goal was just so one would end up with a simile that rhymes with their name, right? If it doesn't just add up, that the last name doesn't rhyme with it, like, we don't know why are people moving away from their names. And that's not really the story behind it. It was mostly like you pick one, you never know why, but then if you go with the adherence to being one, and you never know what these actions do, right? So back to away from this meta, right? Whatever that word is, I just never knew what that is. Like, I understand that people would end up hearing a word and it's like there's no order of my body or order of this escalation. Like, we don't understand what was understood. So if it was kind of odd to see what it was, right? Why is my mechanical pencil missing its cap, right? And it's like I kind of understood the idea of drawing. Some people were better at it, but it doesn't seem bad. So you notice that line that I drew beforehand or before, it was lining up. It flushed, but it's like, why would we have a problem if it's like you're actually pretty good at it? It's just like, why are you improving on this one ideological standpoint? It's like if you grid the whole thing, we kind of got that's like drawing on grid would be okay. So obviously, then when you explain anything at all, was to have a way to recollect what you were drawing. That's kind of what that's for. So I was just using back of a letter to draw on, and I'm like, I ended up drawing the United States on it, but it's like the letter fold has a chevron. I'm like, that's kind of odd what things are called or why they have names. And then I'm like, if you draw on it and it just makes the shapes, and then I'm like, okay, so crud, whatever I thought of ended up being the order of what our lives end up understanding. It's like, no one would underestimate that the surface of what you do. So surfacing your drawings primarily as the device of why, and then the reason is just you get a funny enjoyment. The last note, I gotta tell you, I got lucky with what emotions are. I like that you would move away from it, but then I just don't understand why. It's like I replaced it with thought, and beneath it, I found out what it is my reactory body device is within my body is cool. So I react to what's cool. And it's like, if that word just ends up not feeling like it's in the center, then I'm like, oh, crud. Like, I only react to what's cool. It was like the entire thing is just that. It's like, okay. So that I just hope that we end up finding some connection as to items alleviate from the page based off of looking and finding out how to keep it. I kind of understand there's frustration, but if you just like use the stage that I'm at, right? If you move along and accept that you can just do just this drawing simply, I if I was able to do that, like I'm not at the stage where I can show you my area of that I was drawing. It's like, it doesn't feel cool yet for me to understand where are these things going. it's like, it's just like I got a pig coin in my area, and I'm like, why is it only one? What is all the other things showing up as? And it's like, I got lucky with my area, and hint, 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 was like, okay, I know I don't have to worry, so to speak, but yeah, it just ends up being, for myself, that there is no recollection patterns to build off of, and like, so the ending of the video is, why would you have a trade route? That's all I'm trying to say. Like, there's no way I would know these words. It's like, there's words I can use, but it's like, man, it's useful. But then I'm like, oh, okay. Anyways, have a good day. Yeah, that's kind of what I ended up with.